Hey, we're live. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to TFC Live. This is Season 3, Episode 41. It's the Walking Dragon Raid review and obviously the October FM update. And I've got a lovely panel of admins. Good evening, admins.
Good evening.
Hello.
He's there somewhere. Come on, I'm waiting for it.
Huh?
I'm waiting for Ren to do something or other, but you know what he's like. Robin, how are they? All right?
I'm doing well, thanks, mate.
Yeah, good. Brian's in for a bit of math. I know he's been puzzling away for the last half an hour already. Evening, mate.
Hello. It is my vacation, and I am here.
Vacation week, yes. Daniel, good to see you, buddy.
Always good to be here.
And Ren.
Hey, how are you? How's everyone?
My partner in crime.
18.
Side joke. Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. We'll get straight into it. We have a few slides tonight. Hang on, what are the numbers? Let's have a look. We are
About 230 slides.
Yeah, about 237. But when we get to 22, I think I'm going to call it quits. So there we go. We're up. We're done. And let's get on with it, shall we? So, yeah. Okay. There we go. Bookmark for tonight, just for future reference. Content. Right. There we go. There's quite a bit. But while you sort of like go through that, the key things I've taken out from obviously for BP this week, as you know, Forsaken updates, which is obviously going on, and a bit of reaping going on with some NCP targets. That starts obviously later today, probably 9 a.m. kicks time, but it probably won't happen until actually probably 10 a.m. actually. I'll speak to Chris earlier on. Yeah, so the Forsaken mission kicks off tomorrow, obviously, and then on Friday as well, it's the VXP weekend starts, and there's a bit of an update to that because the initial timings weren't quite right. Apart from that, old Raiders in chat. He's on a 4K big screen. Radio, thanks for that. Hey, Apple, how you doing, mate? You're there as well. And yeah, Ford's in chat as well, doing a bit of moderation. So, hi, bud. You're right. Good. Right. Anyway, shut up, TSM. Get over to Robin. Over to you.
Hi there. Waking Dragon. Well, started last Thursday, was the first raid in the new Skirmish cycle. And this was the raid where we were able to go ahead and redeem the Skirmish flags, as well as tokens and other additional prizes. So looking at the changes, just touching on a couple of things that were brought out that were, yes, and actually the dragon is actually the dragon from Shrek. That's the one that gets all happy with the donkey in Shrek. So
no, it's anyway, not. No.
Yes, it is.
It just looks like it.
Anyway, changes that we had, new store layout, which was easier to use. Well, we had new levels of unlocked tiers. We also had no hit down penalty, which was a huge thing. Included some prior targets for those that were not all of their skirmish fleet. So a lot of really good positive things that I thought were done for this last raid. I finished my raid yesterday morning. I spent about 4 hours or 3.5, 4 hours total doing it. And I thought this was actually kind of interesting because we were talking about participation and how well and how many players that we saw that were playing. I finished with about 110 million points at the end, and looking at the screenshot, I was to 5,500 in the world globally. So that's a huge increase from participation that we've had in the past from players. We don't have the last couple of raids numbers, but Supremacy, there was only 2,600 players that were at 100 million or higher, and the Reinforcements raid, there was only 2,300 at 100 million plus. So I don't know about the other folks, but I saw a big improvement in participation. Did you guys see the same thing?
I certainly did. Yeah, definitely. My alliance personally, and you know, we're not a big alliance, so we're sort of like not massive hitters, but I would say that was probably the average score. A couple of guys obviously didn't really got low, just had to go with it and that sort of stuff, and they had other commitments. But in general, yeah, and one of my guys was, you know, right up there in a crazy place. I don't know why, but he was doing a lot of prepping for us. So yeah, for a first time round, even somebody was just using his manticores and smashing out, you know, the 600k one, but he was doing fine and got everything he wanted.
Okay.
Any other thoughts? Anybody? No.
It was good numbers overall. The sector I was in didn't have as good of numbers as usual, but had fewer players in it this time. So,
all right,
take it for what you will.
Coolio. You can mention about the survey bit, Robin?
Yes, they have put out a survey for the raid. There were a couple of questions that had some label issues that some folks had spoke about, but I did forward those on to Kix, and I believe those have already been corrected. But this is the place where you can provide your personal feedback on the raid, and Kix does use this information, so please take the time to fill it out. This one wasn't a big long survey like the one that we just had. It was relatively quick, so just take a couple minutes to go ahead and fill that out.
Cool.
So taking a look at the targets, just kind of some high points. We did see some increases in points at the lower targets for the 41s, which was great. I didn't see the need for having 2 fleets. I know there were people that were running around putting like a bat flag with razor fleets or running just a shell for 5 ships. There was the warning that was out there for, you should have five ships. I did 4. I know of players that used 3. I know others that were mixing fleets. And I know Ren's got a slide here in a little bit to go into that in a little bit more detail, but it was doable just with the 1 fleet. Yes, 1 target cost a little bit more repair than the other one, but it wasn't like you took your bat fleet into the razor target and it took you 2 tries to get it finished. Players with half-built fleets were able to do some of the higher targets this time. I watched a person with 3 of one of the fleets. I can't remember if it was the bats or the razors, but he only had 3 built, and he was actually able to complete the 1 elite target that was for his fleet. So if he had like the bats, 3 bats, he was able to complete the bat target and get 2.5 million a pop much quicker than if he were running around trying to, do all of the 80s targets. And then this time the Tides did really well. The Proto Tides did even better on the lower targets. There were a lot of players that were out there grinding the 60 sets with their regular Tide Seekers. I believe from what I read and saw on the page, there were a lot of people that were actually doing the individual targets for instant map repair. Fangs and Hunters, not so good. I think everything that I read on the Fangs was that they basically went in there and you kind of died. Does anybody else see anything or have any experience with the Fangs or the Hunters in the lowers?
I tried them. I tried pretty much every combo from Tide Seekers all the way up to the newest, except for the Bat Rays, but Tide Seekers, Proto Tide Seekers, Hunters, Fangs. I tried them all on the 60s, and the Fangs were 100% ineffective. I'd say, overall, this was a good raid, but if there are 2 groups of people who are completely entitled to be mad, are people who invested in Fangtooth and either refeeding them or buying them in a time-limited offer they had running, or, these people have 100% the right to be mad at Kixeye. And if I had bought that offer with for a Fangtooth fleet fully kitted, I'd have a ticket right now asking for my money back, because they were 100% useless, incapable. Like, you dance around and dance around and dance around. It would take forever to kill 1 ship. Meantime, they're just pounding at you because you run out of space to run. They start you can outrange them, but they out-detect you. So they all start chasing you, and it's so slow to kill that at some point you're going to be in a corner. And if you try to avoid the corner by going to the center, you wake up another group of ships, and then it's even more ships surrounding you. So there's no way out. Hunters did okay. I won't say they were terrible. Hunters and Tide Seekers were performing approximately at the same level, with the exception that Hunters are much cheaper to repair, because all you gotta do is repair the flagship, and it keeps the other 4 at 50% health. Tide Seekers are more expensive to repair. And Prototypes, oh my god, they were doing so great. I just had them autoing 60s non-stop while I was doing 100s driving. And, without noticing, I amassed extra 10 million points just randomly hitting 60s with Prototypes on auto, like in a couple hours.
Yeah, I was sort of similar myself, I must admit. 1,000 people watched the preview show this time, so thanks everybody. I hope it helped and that sort of stuff. But yeah, same thing. I couldn't find any 40s, unfortunately. They really are thin on the ground. But the same thing, Hunters. As soon as I went in with the Hunters and it said Fangs as well, I said, right, I'll try Hunters first and I'll look at the Fangs. But the way the target was putting it, as Ren has said, the way the target ships were moving around, there was no way I was ever going to take my fangtooths in those targets, the 60s. Not in a million years is that ever going to happen. And I actually just admit to everybody that I wasn't going to do it. But prototides, they came into their own this raid, I think, to be honest. And like I said earlier, the little gift of the Manticore target for 600k, I think that was a really smart idea of them.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of people into the raid that probably had nothing at all to offer or hadn't had the opportunity. So if you managed to get them built over the last 5 months, you could raid, which was nice.
And there were the great thing that I really liked is there were many ways you could succeed. For instance, if you had the ability to score, let's say, I think it was 4 million points. I don't remember, 8 million points with the Manticores. And then you do the Crushing Tide TFC. Now, all of a sudden, you could actually build all Tide Seekers with a few Ripsaw Gatling guns, the brand new weapon. And that's what I did. I had no Tide Seekers. I scrapped mine, I don't know, a year ago. So I got the Tide Seekers built instantly from the TLC. And with the new gun that somebody could have, like after 10 targets, 12 targets with the Manticores. And they were ripping through 60s, like easy. Like a whole set for less than like 25% damage on them.
Yeah, I saw your video. It was really good, actually. It was
and that beats like grinding 41s for 70k a pop. There's no comparison.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we move on?
Yes. Oh, actually, if you could go back one.
Sorry, go on.
Nope, that's all right. Just the last thing, and Ren had mentioned this, and I got to thinking, and this was a really good point. Time to kill on this. The skirmish cycles have always been painful. I mean, if we all remember, as much as I like subs, when it takes 12, 13 minutes to finish a target, that's a long time. And then you got to get your hunters out and take another 7 or 8 minutes to finish a target. I thought the time to kill on this was static compared to other recent raids, but a huge improvement from the last skirmish cycle.
Oh, golly, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was pretty much 5 minutes on the dot, like doing them reasonably. Versus, as you said, 12 minutes with Fangtooth doing the elite targets less cycle, or crawling hell raids by pixel, so you don't get detected the year before.
Yeah, I shan't miss the Hellrave targets, definitely.
No, I'm going to say the last 3 years, to me, this is the first skirmish cycle done right.
Yeah. And, most people are like, okay, well, maybe that's not a huge big deal. But when you're running a crew, if you can get 4 or 5 more targets in, huge difference on the points.
And the fact you can retreat, which is good.
Or even seat time wide. I mean, with 12 minutes a target, you can do 5 an hour.
Yep.
Not counting moving time, repairing time, whatever time that you waste, right? But it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So as per usual, our comparison on the points, everything was pretty much static, except they did increase the payout on the 41s, which I thought was awesome. And I know a lot of people that normally hit those were ecstatic about that. And then that, coupled with the no hit down penalty, meant that a lot of players were doubling what they used to do. So great job, Kix. I really hope that you will consider removing the hit down penalty permanently.
Permanently, yes.
Yes, and although I would hope that we would see Manti blitz targets again for the next raid, because not everybody still has the higher, the new fleets, and may still not be able to get to them. That was something else that I would hope.
I don't think the Manticore targets will come back.
Yeah, I wasn't holding my breath for it, but it would be nice. But I do like the fact that they did that, and if they did that for every cycle for the first one, I think that would be awesome.
There was a Kickside guy who made a comment on a thread on the TFC Facebook page, and he kind of said, somebody said, well, why should I build 2 fleets, blah, 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 it's only for 3 months, wada. And then the guy said, well, it's actually for 4 months, if you consider that this month you still had targets for Manticore. So the guy kind of indicated that in January, in the first siege raid, we should see skirmish targets like left over for people who are not ready yet.
It's a good way of doing it. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. And so that's the points. And then just taking a look at the prizes. I took a look at this. There were to me, this was probably one of the lowest points for needs, not wants, but needs that we've had in a long time. If you just wanted to get the new armors and the flag and didn't get any tokens, you were looking at about 73 million, which is, it's been a long time since we've had, that lower points. And then I think it was 118 million for all of the new stuff, 2 flags and no tokens, and then 198 for all of it.
Yeah, the only adjustment I'd make on that, it's Kickstarter on the fly added a few prizes to the list, and one that everybody was trying to get, everybody who could, was the Hyper 30s, because they proved to be a great special to have on the ships. And Kickstarter added 3 of them. I think it's great that they added them, but at the same time, I'm going to say the price,
million.
25 million per, it's ridiculously high.
Yes, I had to get one because I had one.
That added 75 million points if you wanted all 3 to those numbers. It's, wow.
But I question it on the page. I'm not defending anybody, but what was it last raid? It was 1 S set or 1 target, 2.5 million points to get 1 shard. So I don't know. And that was a random shard. You couldn't guarantee you were getting it either.
Yep.
So you cut your cloth where you take your own route sometimes. I don't know if you think it's a desperate thing that you have to have. I don't know if I think 25 was too much. I think probably 15 or something like that. But I like the fact that you could actually get it. At least you had to say, I must get this much points, and I know I'm getting that straight away, not the randoms.
And the other thing is, why the heck 3?
Because there was an offer to buy the rest. They're a business today. The offer was there to buy the rest. That's what it was done for.
Yeah.
You can win 3, and you can buy the others in the offers. It was done on purpose, and it's marketing. That's what it is. It's simple as that, marketing.
Yeah. If they hadn't had that in there, I was going to have to either strip one off of my mantis or drop down to a Hyper 2. So I was glad to see it in there, and I was able to get it and not take 5 days just to get the one. But I thought it was a little bit steep. But good selection of prizes, and as Ren mentioned, they added additional turrets later in the raid. So if you wanted to catch up on some of those, you were able to do that. And then tokens. This is where that whole new unlock store comes in. In the past, there's been maybe 1 or 2 tokens at the bottom to where all players had access to them, and all of the rest of the really nice shiny tokens were hidden up in that locked store where a lot of people were unable to get to. So this time they split them into 2 sets of 5. One was in tier 6 and one was in tier 7, I believe. So I like that. A lower player could get into tier 5. It could get into tier 6, claim his uranium or something small that he didn't have, and then get access to those tokens. And so I thought that was a really good thing.
And I know some people were complaining that now instead of 1 locked store, we had 3 locked stores. But as you said, the reality is before it was all or nothing. Either you were able to unlock the store or you were not. And to unlock the store, you needed something like 30, 40, 50 million points. Yeah, but this time, even the tier 7 store, you could unlock with, I think, 3 million points if you wanted to buy a pack of uranium on tier 7. And then you would have access to the tier 7 locked store. So it was a lot cheaper to unlock.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 though as well, because I noticed in the preview, and I went back and watched that bit because I was a bit unsure myself. I thought I had to unlock everything. If you, and it would have been frustrated the hires that wanted something in the locked area, the lower stuff. But if you did have everything already, and you unlocked the tier 7 stuff, it automatically unlocked the lower levels for you because you already had all the set items.
You had everything. Yes.
You didn't have to get a titanium from there. You didn't have to get a X. You didn't need to do that. And I was pleased to see that because I thought, all right, here we go. We're going to have to do all these unlocks. And actually that wasn't the case. So, okay, so that's only for the bigger levels that have got everything or been playing the game for a long time. I get it. Not that many people probably have got everything. I'm fortunate. I've got virtually all of it. But at least it was confirmed that if you did have everything, you didn't have to go and unlock every single level. So that was quite decent, I thought.
Yeah, and I did a comparison, and we've been spoiled because we had last raid was the tech store raid, and then the raid before that was when they did the PvP stuff where we kind of got the extra raid and they didn't switch over type thing. And so there was no locked store in that one. But when I went back and took a look and said, okay, well, what was the last store that we had where it was locked? And it was 60 million to unlock that store versus 4 million or 10 million if you didn't have one of the resistors. So it was easier to do. So
I'm still laughing. I'm still laughing about the bit about when marketing pick up on the smell of people wanting and hunting for something, they're going right. Well, now what value are we going to put? Can you imagine them rubbing their hands together, going, "Where are we going to set this tie?" It's just I find it funny. Not funny, haha, but funny. It's just the way marketing works, isn't it?
Yep.
They hear the community and they go, right. What can we do about this then?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wish they made the Hyper 20 more available, because that's actually the rarest one, because I think it was offered twice in a TLC and that's it. Right, but Hyper 10 you can find on FM every week. Hyper 30 is people going a lot less raid, people who are doing elite targets. But the Hyper 20, which would be a great plan B, it's just nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, Robin, sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay. So that's the prizes and bugs. We had a few this time, but it is the first cycle, so we're going to expect some wrinkles that we need to work through. They did have ships that were getting stuck in some targets, and I think Mark, you ran into that in your live stream. Where
it was right towards the end and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I just clicked the off button. I thought, right, I'm going to finish off this crew, and then straight away. I think it was Venom PM me went, I'm really angry and that sort of stuff. I went, why is that, mate? Well, I'm locked in a target. When I was all fine, I went, oh, no, it's not. And then I was stuck there for about an hour and a half or something like that. I couldn't, fortunately, just finished the stream. But yeah, I couldn't do a thing.
But they did.
And we were told
correct
not to raid. All right, don't raid for now and we'll fix it. That's not the answer.
Yeah, but they did correct it quickly. I mean, it wasn't something that was out there forever. Claiming locked items after unlocked redemption issues. There were some people that were having issues initially where they were claiming things and were not able to get stuff. That was also corrected. There were some players that posted on the page where just through lag and whatever, they weren't actually able to enter any of their battles. So they were basically doing things blind and on auto. So I know there were some reports of that. And of course, we know that the locator's still balked, not just for regular weekly stuff. It is for the raid stuff. I was paying attention to mine as well, and it was sending me to, sector 236, and when there was one 5 inches from my base on the map. So, hopefully, I know Kix is aware of it, but hopefully they are looking at getting that corrected.
Now, is it borked? Because, and again, I mean, that's just a thought that it's a brain fart, if you want to call it. I mean, there were me and my alliance mates, we were all together on the map, within half an inch from each other, a whole bunch of us, right? If the locators kept sending all of us to the closest target, a bunch of people would be wasting trips to the same target, because first come, first served, and everyone else would just be there.
But it never
said it kind of randomizes the targets that you have around the sector, and people see different ones that are sent to different ones. I know you travel a little bit more, but isn't that in the end a good thing?
But I was sent a second and a half away.
They said that there was an issue with it after, I want to say, was it Bounty?
Yeah, Bounty was you're right.
Bounty with it. But no, there was something that changed in how they were reporting it. And you may have a valid point in that may be something that they're looking at. But no, when it consistently sends you to the exact same DRAC base one sector over for every target, when you're looking on the map and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're the only person in your sector that's on the game, there's an issue.
Yeah, and as Ford said in thing there, the information was, they said it's timing for the cache to catch up on your PC. By the time you've done it, few have spawned, and then you're letting the cache catch up, and then you're doing it basically as you come out of a target, you hit it straight away and go, right, where's the next one? Because you want to just get on with it. And apparently it's a caching issue. But I have to say, no one in my alliance, because and that's the is it balked or not thing, to be honest, Ren, nobody in my alliance ever got sent to a close target, ever.
Right. Okay. Never mind what I said. Like I said, it was a brain fart.
No.
I kept asking to the guys. I went, look, I've been sent, and I'll be like, I'll go, I've passed one, I've passed two. So that's what I said to my guys, right, simple as this. And you click the next one, and obviously it goes on a sort of 45-degree angle in any direction, doesn't it? From one, obviously.
And to be fair, I wasn't using the locator. I was pretty much scrolling the map up and down.
Okie dokie. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Robin.
Yep. Nope, that's okay. There was also an issue with the update where it was the default settings, and if you're somebody like me that has your volume jacked up because you're half deaf, and you jump in the game, and then all of a sudden you've got music blaring in your ears at 150 decibels. But that was taken care of. I think the view thing may still be being worked on, but at least they got the sound sorted out, so that's still being working. And then I did see some issues with lag above and beyond normal, and I'm not sure if it's just because there was so much that was going on in the targets where you're being chased and mugged by 6 or 7 ships, torpedoes, and then getting splattered by proto-nemesis mortars, that I found some of the targets were a little laggy.
I did as well. I did turn down some of the effects, turning off particle and everything else as much as possible, and that did seem to help, because sometimes there's an awful lot of graphic stuff happening.
Yeah, and there always is with morts, isn't it? Because obviously you get the ice field, the classic, like the more display, obviously the more it's changing your display, the more graphics that are created, the more it's going to cause, a bit of a flag. So, yeah, I had fun in the targets, I have to say.
Yeah. Now the other thing that I would call a bug, even though it's not listed in there, was the unintended situation where the ship number 1 was taking all the torpedo damage.
Almost like priority targeting, yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that Kick's Eye on the Discord thing said was not intended, and they were looking into it. So because it's not intended, I'm saying then we can call it a bug, right? A weird behavior, whatever you want to call it. But, that kind of like made the case for building the flagship less compelling, I guess. And it also frustrated the crap out of the other thing that people were getting very frustrated was because it was some people who coin. I said the first group who could be pissed was the Fangtooth owners. The second group are the whales who coined the flagship, and all of a sudden realized that
it's getting smashed.
4 ships. No, it's weird because Reyna did that comparison. 4 ships in combat with 1 regular in the corner.
Yeah,
were taking less damage than 4 ships in combat with the flagship in the corner. And that should never be the case.
I mean, I found it funny because I popped the first ship, as you remember I did on the preview, and I did obviously 1 blank ship and then 4 others, and I put number 1 in the top corner, and then the other 4 were getting equal damage because the number 1 was up in the top corner. But as soon as I started doing the 5 together, number 1 was taking all the flak. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. I was getting splash damage on the rest, but number 1 was taking lots of hits.
Oh yeah, and I understand, but I mean, how do you say? I mean, the flagship gives 60% resistance to all ships. A regular one gives 36. So if you're going to leave a ship in the corner, logic would say, okay, if I leave the flagship in the corner, I am going to do better than if I leave a regular ship in the corner, because the bonus is bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And was the other way around. For some reason, the flagship in corner was worse than a regular ship in corner. All other things being equal. Right, and I even asked her. I mean, maybe it's because the flagship doesn't have rank, so everybody's turning is lower.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, that's why
she actually had 60-something% rank on the flagship, and still was worse.
I ended up flipping to sea serpents because obviously it helped with turn and that sort of stuff. So, which is then more fun trying to dodge the torpedoes, which I did have a good laugh doing. Not ideal every time, but. You did feel slightly smug when you managed to outturn them and outmaneuver them until they blew up.
Yeah, but it's a bit, and I didn't coin any of that. I didn't even try the flagships, to be honest. But people who spend the money and then get a worse result than if they hadn't, it's not a good business practice. I'm gonna say.
Nope.
Yeah, as you said, unintentional, but anyway, good. Okay, I think last one. I think.
Yeah, and this is actually for Ren.
What?
Yes, you have to work today.
Oh, yeah. I put a poll on the TFC page, just, because the official corporate message was that, we were offered both at the same time, and we were offered the second fleet again and tokens on the TFC, blah, blah, blah. But the whole message was like, hey, you guys only need to build 1. And personally, I wasn't buying into that. Right? Because in the past, people with both fleets were always doing better. And so I put a poll after the first raid, what people think. And we had about, nearly 1,000 people responding to the poll. And nearly half agree that they're happy with just one fleet of one ship, and that's all they need, and they're not planning or don't feel the need that they have to build a second fleet. So that was the most popular. Now, if you add folks who said, yeah, I only need one fleet, but I'm going to mix ships up. Like apparently the notion of using razor tails with a Bat-Ray flag or Bat-Rays with a razor tail flag is very appealing to a lot of players. And people will be trying that. So if you put those two groups together who think one fleet alone is enough, that's 75% of the folks who responded to the poll. So I'd say, in terms of us players seeing that whatever they said was going to happen actually happened and people feel comfortable with that, it's good, it's positive. And then we have about 20% who think, yeah, I'm going to get both fleets because I think we absolutely need them.
I think this is interesting because it was done after the ridiculously powerful TLC, where a lot of people were reporting that they either had to coin repair before finishing it to keep going for the mastery, the Razor and the Batwing ones, or their fleet just died and they couldn't finish the target. They couldn't finish a master run because their fleet with all the best raid tech died. So I think that would be a pretty strong indicator of you either need two fleets or one really good one and a really good connection and all that, which not everyone necessarily has.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe we don't need two fleets for the cycle, but maybe we need two fleets for the TLCs that will come after.
Yeah, I mean, I built one. I mean, slow building the flagship for the Razors and that sort of stuff. And if I happen to have dock time, I'll mess around. I've never built missile manties. I never did. I stuck with the scatter ones. So I've gone for just scatter, driving a blitz fleet this time as well, and hopefully it pays off. And if it, like I said, working at the number of coins, a 20-day build for a flagship and 14 days roughly for each ship afterwards. So on top of that, add that for a full month. I'd rather than spend my time in my shipyard sorting out my PvP holes and that sort of stuff, and I'll suffer the pain in raid, as I said before. But so far, it's paid off. I can do enough targets where I can then just let them fix and carry on. So
yeah, and just as I got my missile manticores, pretty much 100% on tokens. My plan is to get the Bat-Rays, because I have the Razor Tail done, right? My plan is to get the Bat-Rays on tokens. I mean, we had the TLC that it was hard, but I think it offered, 7 days of Bat-Ray tokens, I think. Then we have the Raid that offered 10 more, so that's already 17. Right? And eventually, at some point this month, I'm sure that TLC will run again.
Yeah.
And I'll get 7 more tokens if I have the time. And then next raid, I hope they're going to pop those 10 tokens again. And in between those dedicated tokens and some generic tokens in FM, I mean, I'll get my Bat-Ray fleet done.
And absolutely agree, mate. And that's what I said last time. Certain things you can build. You go, right. Like I did my Phoenixes. Well, I've got enough tokens. I've got 10 days worth. Right. What can I do on 10 days? So instantly, just do the 10 days. Click, 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 and then go back to. I was building Gretas at the time. Dragons, sorry. And so quickly did the Phoenix bit. Got that out of the way because we've got some in the TLC, and then went carried back on again. And that's the same way. So I probably will eventually get both sets, but I'm not stopping anything else to get the second set.
And I'm actually overall happy that this time we are very, I think, as far away as we've been in the past 2 years from there's only one right way of building a raid fleet, or two, maybe. This time there's such a discussion, and I think that's very healthy. It's an aspect of the game that I really enjoy, where we're actually having meaningful discussions about, do I use this armor or that armor, the EV armor or the CTX armor? Now there's a brand new armor in FM, so there's a third option. Do I use this special or that special? Like there's 3-4 specials up for discussion, and 2 or 3 that everybody agrees on. So it's a lot funnier than this is how you build it. If you don't build it this way, you're screwed.
Yeah, right? I think we were all concerned about how the targets were going to work with 2 different fleets, 2 different targets, and then swapping over. So if you were only, you know, a Razor builder like I have, you know, I was very concerned about how my Razors were going to behave in the Bat Ray target, and I fully expected to take them in there and take like 5 times more damage than what I did on the other. And I can't speak for everybody, but with the build that I have and the lack of ability of driving that I have, I was very happy with how they performed in the Bat Ray target. And so I think Kix actually did do a good job of that. I mean, your thoughts?
The bit that's going to intrigue me is actually already is March, when all these targets are on the on the general, and this is how you're going to go ahead and, you know, these will be the new skirmish targets on the world map.
Not March, then January.
Sorry, January. Yeah, well, yeah, end of January. Yeah, because it'll be the second. Because obviously we've got some things happening as well this month. But you know, so there'll be a dual targets to start with, but then in February there'll be nothing but. But which one will they favour? You know, what will the 75 be? You know, and that sort of stuff. Will it favour the Bat Ray or will it favour the Razor Tail? What are they going to do?
Or maybe they just compromise and do a half and half that everybody takes about the same damage.
But it isn't funky, because that was the problem with the VXP target that we had previously. And people were like, oh my God, if this is the targets, then my ships are rubbish because I'm getting smashed. And that was the Razor Tail people, like, you know. And the same, you know, take the Razor Tails into the, you know, SSRBs, you know. So they're going to be very cautious what they do when it comes to world map targets. They can't just literally map them across and go, right, there you go. It's 2 of those and 2 of those. Because otherwise people can be stuck to a certain level. But anyway. Right, okay.
And the other thing that I'm looking forward to is people showing the results of their mixed fleets. I mean, the whole idea of having 4 Bat Rays and 1 Razor, which slowly, eventually raises the sub, and even that 1 Razor slowly raising the subs, surfacing the subs, is that it seems to be faster than having the Bat Rays killing the sub underwater. Or is it? Because now there's a new weapon for the flagship that's like wholly modded, right? So, I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Well, Laredo says he's got some info.
He's always got some info.
He has. He's got about bison T-bone steaks. Something like that. I'm not quite sure what he's on about there. Right, so let's move on because time's getting on. Okay, right, and here we are. First thing, so update for this month. Bear in mind, their world map targets refreshed. So, yep, we finished obviously that raid cycle. The Manticores are finished with. Oh no, they're not. Okay, and so what's going to happen here is they are, you know, once the FM and everything refreshes and that sort of stuff, then you're going to see 2 sets of targets. Okay, you'll have the standard everyday ones on the map for a month. Okay, up until the next raid, basically, where you're going to hit the 85s, your Skyfires, and Auto, and all that sort of stuff. And now also you're going to have the Draconian Mega convoys as well. And there you go. That's the payouts to them. So it's 30k of titanium, obviously, for the 95. We will work out whether it's best then to go in there with missiles or go in there with scatters. Personally, I will find one that I can hit automatically on a scatter for a virtually, you know, so I can probably top up. And then, as I always do with the Skyfires, then go and fix. That's my plan, basically. I don't intend to drive in the
I want to run a comparison, TSM. I want to do, you know, let's pick the number here, 150k titanium, okay?
Yeah.
Which is 5 of these 95 targets.
Let's see what it comes out at.
Or 6 of the old 85. And I want to see what kind of repair we're going to have on Auto, because the Skyfires are great doing titanium on Auto, right? Yeah. And the Manticores are a bit of a pig. So I hope they tune this down for map and full-time repair and having to do 10 other things in the game repair, because if not, that's going to be a major source of player anger and dissatisfaction.
It'll kill PvP if you aren't careful.
And both fleet types too, because you've got people that have the missile and you've got people that have the scatter.
Yeah.
But I don't expect the missile fleet to do this on Auto. It's like people who had the Phoenix before and they had to drive.
Yes,
I
scatter guns should do it on Auto.
I agree with that, but if I don't want it to be tuned to a scatter fleet to where even if I do drive my missile fleet, I take twice as much
damage.
Where
they cluster, yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, there's
as
a
long
defined
difference. You should do well, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. So just bear that in mind, and you're going to see some new targets on the world map, and it's going to be overlapping, obviously, with the 85. So when you hit the locator, you'll see 35s and that stuff, and 75s and 95s. Don't go mistaking which fleet to take in there, because hopefully it'll be locked to. In fact, it can't be locked. It's going to be assault fleets, and that's it. So be really, really cautious.
Yeah. If someone takes the Skyfires on a 95.
It's going to be horrible.
Ouch.
It's going to be up there. Oh, look, more
75
points.
Probably going to hurt.
Yeah. They're probably all going to hurt, to be honest. Probably 55s. You might. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will test it. But then at the moment, you're braver than me because I don't know.
If they make sense, I mean, 60-somethings in the raid, Skyfires could do. So it stands to reason that a 55 and a 35 would both be doable.
Yeah,
but again, that's just logic. And we know logic, battle pirates don't always go hand in hand.
Okay. Yeah. So update on the VXP weekend. The original post obviously wasn't quite as accurate. Something went a bit wrong in translation. However, it's been corrected. So all parts of it. I'm still not sure about the first bit. Okay. So it normally runs Friday, obviously 9 a.m. through till Monday. Okay. I'm not sure whether because we got the 1 day last week or week before, whether they've knocked a day off or whether that's still a typo on the ends bit. Okay, that's still remain to be seen. But if it's hardwired into the program, as Ren was saying before we started, then it will still run for the 3 days and not just 48 hours. But we do have confirmation, obviously, from Chris, and he's updated his notes as well, that it's definitely 36 hours for the level 100 targets. Okay, it's definitely 36 hours. So that's a 9 a.m. start. Okay, and then finishing at 9 p.m. obviously on the Saturday. So that's good. All right. Apart from that, that's VXP. Go have out and enjoy getting smashed by the level 100s. But I'm sure that'll be fun. Right. That's it. That's exciting. It is. What's we got next? Yeah. So for sake of mission updates, that's the timings. Basically, that's just a bookmarker slide. It's nothing really that exciting. But yeah, Wednesday, and nothing really changes. What have we got then? So there are a few interesting things there. This one particularly, Brian, you like this one, don't you?
All right.
That's funny. Go at it, mate. Go at it.
Let's go. So, you might notice that this looks a lot like some of the other weapons that we currently have, except for that damage number, which is, 150,000, which is 7.5 times as strong as the Gatling gun that we had to kill the elite targets to get. By the way, I'm just double checking in game, but I think the salvo and reload are a little different, and the reload's going to matter if you skull this. I know I was harping on about advanced concussive payload 2 last time. You're actually going to be wasting a little bit of reload with this. It's going to take you below that 0.2 cap, and that's not really optimal. But definitely the concussive damage is certainly going to help. If you need to lighten the ship a little, which you shouldn't, because the weight is exactly the same, even though it looks like a heavy weapon, doesn't it? It really does, but it's the same weight, and there's no equip cap, so you can put as many of these as we're given on. They're saying 2 this week. I'm not sure how many it's going to be in future weeks, but if we continue down that path, there's going to be 6 of these.
The radar has actually just mentioned in chat that it's you can only equip 2 on the flagship.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing, actually. I think. Sorry. Otherwise, the targets are going to be horrendous for other people that don't have them.
Okay, so calibrating to that, I guess, and that's good because each one of these guns. I looked at my hunters. One of these guns on the bat flag is stronger than a hunter. Fully outfitted with all those bells and whistles. This one gun in the flagship is better.
The funny thing? The funny thing is that, it's 150,000 damage for one single weapon, right? But the ships, like bare naked ships, have a plus 300% damage. So just without any specials, you get that damage and makes it times 4. You're going to be dealing per weapon 600,000 damage from one reload cycle.
I feel like this might be a case, especially with the lack of reload. I haven't done the math on that just yet, where the crit special might actually be worth it on this.
Oh wow! Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So I've just bear note, guys, just quickly. Look, I've put it in green at the top there. This is linked, okay, then, to the one flagship. You can't put it on, the other ones. So this is going for your bat rays. It's the only one because it does sub damage and that sort of stuff, and they want you to be able to kill things differently using the other, the razor tails, do it in a different way, sort of stuff. So you can't mix this up. It can only go on the one flagship. That's why there's just not going to be tons of that sort of stuff. So while there's a little enhancement for that flagship if you've got it and that sort of stuff, and it can only go onto the flagship. So if you haven't got one yet, there's going to be an encouragement clearly to go and get it if you want to use this. So there are a few caps. Just be cautious. That's all.
Okay, the salvo time for the other Gatling guns, it's 4 for the Gathering Storm, and it's 3 for the normal Gatling gun. The reload time's the same. So the cycle time is not super low when compared to the other ones, but the damage more than makes up for it. And the defenses, I think I'd really rather keep all of my defenses on and only have one offensive special, if any, because I know they're trying to fix the part where the flagship takes all the damage, but just in case they don't, between these, stacking evade, splash damage reduction, and the extra flagship defense benefit that this provides, I think it's just going to be safer to run with this and keep all your specials on. If you think it might not matter, one of these will take the place approximately of the CTX special, so you can add in another offensive special or another just fun side special, maybe more splash.
And for those that have already built the full flagship, and there have been some, they went out and built them and they coined them and that sort of stuff, got some rank on them and did a full lot. I mean, I don't know what it takes to take off 2 weapons, but when you get your 2 weapons, then that's all you got to do. So, all you got to do, if you build these things early, you take a risk and that sort of stuff, and we sort of were already informed because we had the update that there was stuff coming out in the FM. So, you could have, we didn't know how many weapons you could have put on. We didn't know the statistics. I get that. But, statistically, there are always weapons coming out. It's happened in the Mantis and it's happened again now. So it's a catch-22. You take a risk. I mean, I built my flagship, but I haven't put anything on it apart from one weapon. So, I was aired on the side of caution sort of stuff. But some people, want the full power. And as you were saying, Rain at the same sort of things, built it and then found out she was struggling with the darn thing. And then rather she had just a normal ship tucked in the corner and just carried on as she was before. This is hopefully, as Brian was saying, this, if you build it as a sort of like a semi-attack but mostly as defensive hull, then it will stand up. I just wish it was like a Skyfire, so that it had the boosting capabilities to boost the other 4 ships, and then its repair modifier was much cheaper, but it just doesn't work that way this time. But hey,
well, maybe not that, but we've got some armors coming up.
Yeah, we have. You're right. Right. Okay. Moving on. And the next one then. So this is the opposing one. Then this is for Occam's Razor. Then so the Keen Edge rockets. Same sort of concept again, I believe. It's obviously linked to the flagship. Although it says hulls in the stats, it's hull really. To be honest, it should just be hull because it is linked to one single hull and not several. I can imagine the same thing. It's locked to cap to 2.5 million. Okay.
Submerged damage.
Yeah, and it has submerged damage, a considerable amount, like 6k there. So
the other ones don't.
And this has got a salvo of yeah, that's a good point actually. The other ones don't. You've got to wait till the ship rise, don't you? So definitely going for this one.
Yeah, the others don't have submerged.
Yeah, you have to wait for that timeout for them to come up. That's going to help you an awful lot then, particularly in the battery target, where there's a stupid amount of submarines. And, yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, stats are, we'll look at some stats at the weekend, I'm sure, and Hefe will on his show as well. He likes doing stats.
I have a spreadsheet sharing on my screen.
Oh,
if you
cool.
want to put it up.
Yep, definitely will do. Hang on 2 seconds. Let me just, here we go.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, we're up.
Okay, so I just quickly updated my resistance spreadsheet, right? And if you notice the latest version here, I'm assuming, let's say, 2 D5 EV armor with 0 resistance, only 2 D5 CTX, and maybe you can convert them all to EV, up to you. I'm just running some numbers here, right? I'm assuming a ship with no resistance special at all, so 0% resistance from there. But the 2 new weapons on the flagship only, of course. So this is now not for the regular ships, just the flag. 2 of the new weapons at 50% each. Okay. The flag aura 4 other regular auras, no resistor, so you could put speed 6 if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right at this point, your ship will be, if it's a razor tail, will be at 99.8% explosive, 99.8% concussive. So, you know, if you add a steelhead screw, you're going to be at 99.85, 99.9%.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about midway through the raid, weren't we? I mean, we weren't going to swap it out. You weren't going to swap it out either, but we were discussing the the evade armor anyway, because the repair cap on it. It's good, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, I'm certainly considering the new armor now, if it's not limited, you know, that gives you evade and less resistance. So maybe put that armor in here. We'll talk about it in a second. And, you know, definitely getting rid of the resistance specials and likely getting rid of the resistors.
Yeah. Someone keep it. It just mentioned that the update should be hitting in 5 minutes, but are they definitely doing it at 9 a.m. or are they going to delay? They weren't quite sure if they were going to be ready in time, but
yeah,
they did say they were going to try. I've just seen it in sidebar chat there.
Okay, so that's it, TFC. I just wanted to show the numbers with the new weapon on the flagship.
No, it's good, mate.
Yeah.
That should help an awful lot, and it'll make a nice a nice then open window for people to look at different specials. Because evade, well, as soon as you put steelhead crew on, maybe to turn things. I mean, there are some other specials as well, do splash damage reduction as well. You know, so you can look around and actually put more splash damage reduction, which is even better for the ice fields and etc. So, and those goddamn torp things. So, yeah, it will help, I think, a lot. Right. Yeah. And talking of specials, so here we go. The D6 CT. This one's 2 million points. Repair time obviously is 1 second, so that's not bad, is it, to be honest? And that's the concussive 30% plus. So, weight 125. Nice. I like that.
It's just like in the past cycle, right? You had the D6 CO.
And I put 1 on in the end.
And the D6M, and they reduced the repair time, but they were weaker than the D5. But in this case, with the resistances we're talking about here, it doesn't make a difference. You can easily use that.
But if they are slamming into the number 1 ship, and we manage to do the adjustments to the flagship, then it may be good to put this on the other 4. Don't know yet. We'll see. Options.
Too many options. As long as they all work, I'm fine.
Can I speak to the weight for a second?
Yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah, 125. Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like even though we were told we couldn't make a wrong choice, there were 2 massive points in favor of the Bat Rays as being the first ship. One is they do concussive damage, and all of our current TLC, etc. targets are tuned for skirmish, are tuned to concussive damage and not explosive. And the second one is they've already had their weight reduction, the Forsaken, but if you wanted the Legion weight reduction, you needed to, and I did, you need to have saved tokens from over a year ago, I believe, and put on an officer and chug through 15 days of tokens to get your shipyard done so that you could finish outfitting your razors with proper rockets, etc. I was running into weight issues, and while this does downplay those weight issues a little bit, it still is a feel bad that razor owners felt that they had to completely upgrade their shipyard, which took 15 days of tokens, and I'm sure many couldn't or didn't want to do it because we're still building for the cycle. And to have this after that raid, I mean, it sort of helps, but at the same time, we all knew this was coming. Really, this wasn't a surprise.
No surprise, no.
And we could have just, even if it was just a piece or 2 in round 3 of those ridiculous TLCs, I feel like that would have been nice to have. I'm glad they're here, and I'm definitely going to put 1 on my Brennus Bat because its concussive resist is not as good as it once was, but it just this could have been done earlier for the razor owners a little bit, I think.
Okay, hydrofoil plating, interesting. Okay, evade bonus. So yeah, okay, quite heavy, 489, 2 million.
Just like the D5 CTX or the D5 EV is the same.
So this is the that level 1. Yeah, I mean, take it, use it, don't use it. So it's got explosive, it's got concussive. plus 9%. Obviously, they stack and that sort of stuff. So make a decision. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't.
And extra repair time.
Yeah, 22 minutes. I'm clocking that as well. So that's always the sneaky little thing. It might be a help on one aspect, but it's a hindrance on another. You just got to look at your repair times then and work out the damage ratio versus repair time and see if you consider it worth it. But it's there. It's an option. The other one I prefer personally, but that's just me.
Which other one?
But this stuff here I'm talking about, I prefer this as the way that it's put together. As in the plus 30%, and then it's lightweight, and you can. I took one. When we did the mantis, I took one of my, the original armors off, and I put this equivalent on, and it helped me an awful lot. So
yeah, I'm thinking of the new one, the other one, primarily for the flagship because of the evade, and the cheap one's going to keep taking torpedo damage. The extra evade from that one, it's interesting.
Yeah, I know it's got a speed up boost as well, but obviously that won't help a great deal because the ships will stack. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I like this one too.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And just for this week only, there's Warden Hull in there if you want it, which is quite a reasonable price, I think. To be honest, you can get up to 3 of those if you want to claim them. Nightwatch Countermeasure, which kind of quite people wanted, and obviously the Reloader as well. So that's in just for this week only. So bear that in mind. Okay, it's there. They'll probably get a warning that's only there for a week when the FM kicks in, but just thought we'd just put that in there quickly. Right, yeah, the 3 TLCs that are coming up. Turrets of Terror's back again. So the only thing you really want if you are struggling to go out and get base points, obviously, and this is obviously really, really well done, and obviously Icebreakers work well in it, and that's obviously the structure build tokens generic. Everything else, if you wish to build it, then fine, but you're not getting any obviously cap bonuses on things like epic cap mortars and etc.
Yeah, this one he's mentioned Icebreakers, but in the past, this was the one that you could close your eyes, one hand behind your back, and run your dragons through. Well,
yeah, of course,
repair,
yeah,
so,
and
yeah.
monos work fine as well with some zealousy and stuff. So, but the deal was for most people that got the really, really cheap deals, it was Icebreaker deals and that sort of stuff. To buy, a reasonable deal anyway, or people were actually giving them when they came back into the game. So 5 was the giveaway. They weren't giving out mantis and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, just watch the structure token caps too, because that comes into play with this one.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Price pack 3 pause, go and use them, and then go on to price pack 4. But yeah, it's there for the week. So good. Double Trouble's back out again as well. It's the co-op one, remember. So if you need some stuff, obviously, and you want to mess around on your mantis, like you've said, if you look at those new world map targets and you're thinking, oh god, my missile ones aren't going to do the job, then yeah, go out and make some adjustments if you see fit. There are build tokens there, so have a little play around if you feel you need to. It's a personal choice, and there's no wrong answer unless you made it yourself. And the Titan Rising's back. There's still one key item missing from this TLC, which they could do with, and they never put the engine boosts in, did they, at all? I don't know why. The engine type. It's always there's only the basic one, the Pyro one. There's a big engine that's missing. I can't remember what it's called, but is it the red one? Whatever the engine is on the back. I'm not really up to hypers myself. I've only used mine for VXPing, but it always seems to be the Pyro engine, and it could do with probably having the other one. Because the rocket module's in there as well as the missile drone module, but I think, it should be the other engine module somewhere along that TLC, because a lot of people want it and they can't get to it. But yeah, so the start times, finish times are all the same for all the 3 TLCs. Moving on quickly then, bug fixing and tuning then. I don't know who would do this, but apparently upgrading a row of level 4 walls was charging the incorrect gold. I think every level charges the incorrect amount of gold, personally. Not just level 4. I wouldn't know, mate, because anybody that presses the buy it now must be slightly deranged, I think, personally.
I'm willing to bet that somebody hit it by accident and then Kix realized, oops, that wasn't supposed to do that much anyway.
I just thought it was funny, upgrading a row of walls. Who the hell does it anyway?
I've done it on accident and then had to plead ignorance and spot the idiot to CS, and thankfully they did do the refund. But
did they? Flipping heck.
Yeah. It was one time, never done it before, a long time ago.
This one time? Yeah, okay.
No, actually it was one time, but it was like 21 gold.
Now this one's interesting. So closing Double Trouble exploit that allowed for the campaign completion beyond set limit. Those that know. Those that didn't know, it's been closed off. Leave it at that. And then,
Whatever.
yeah, exactly. And then, as ever, the general bug fixes and performance improvements, which hopefully includes the flipping reset of music and screen resolution, that sort of stuff. Right. And that's it. We're done. Just in the hour. That wasn't bad, was it? Stop sharing. Good. Right. Anything you want to close off with? Let's go across the line first. Brian, anything you want to... And thanks for popping in, mate. I know it's your week off this week, but it is good to see you. I know you're a busy man these days. So,
it's good to be back. I mean, I had fun during the raid. I did well, even though I kind of just like drove around without a care in the world. Didn't even look at the videos, just derped around, still did well. I am very curious to see what we're going to need in terms of our flagship with these weapons. We can't see their build time yet, I don't think, but boy.
Apparently it's 1.25 days per weapon.
That's perfectly reasonable for a weapon of this size.
Yeah, I saw Templar said that on Discord, and I think Laredo posted that on our chat as well. So it's 1.25 days per. So 2 weapons, that's 2.5 days, and they're done.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take that. And you know, normally
but
the output is amazing on them.
Yeah, sorry, Jason. I was going to say what Brian said. That's the scary part. I mean, if they're giving us these weapons with that much damage, what are the elite targets going to look like next month? And I think that is right there the reason why I should have the flagship, and instead of just counting, I'll be able to do things with 5 regular ships like I did this month.
Right.
What are the
new
blue
ones
dots
off behind
funky?
the shroud?
Yeah, if the new ones are funky though, Daniel, I'll just stick to the 100s, because I mean, if they play the same as what they've done with the Manticores, you know, they left the 100s behind last time, you know, and it went on cyclic like that sort of stuff. So I'll just hit the single target and just keep doing it, you know. And if not, if it gets really, really expensive, I'll just do the blitz target. I'd rather not do that, because it gets very monotonous hitting blitz targets continuously.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not blitzing and coiling. I'm not doing that. I mean, but you know, you can get away normally with a blitz target with a, you know, an almost. Well, it's never going to cost you more than 5 coin, because that's the thing. Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, Daniel, anything you want to say, mate?
I do agree with something Ren mentioned earlier. I like the fact that we're getting some flexibility back in and some creativity being allowed in our builds to have stuff work. Gets tired of the cookie cutter. Everybody has exactly the same build for everything. I welcome that. That is for me as well one of the parts of the game I find more enjoyable. It
was great on the pitch at the top of the page, wasn't it, this week, where we must have had 15 different builds at least listed in there, and probably about 10 or 15 videos, and no one was the same this time. There was always at least one special, slightly different, or a slightly different weapon. You know, whether people were using, anyways, whatever they were using, they was using different things, you know, resonance battery in one bit of ship, and some people was using, you know, a lockdown rocket, and somebody else was using Reckonite, and then somebody else was using, you know, various different things. It's good, making people think again. I like it a lot.
I like rocket ships. They make stuff go boom.
Yeah, Ren, anything from you just to finish off?
No, you know, I'm overall happy with where things are. Still a little bit not happy with all these new components being released now, but you know, it's the refit game that we're used to. You know, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's not great either. I would rather have all the pieces laid out as soon as possible. But overall, it was a great raid. I think it's the first skirmish raid they got right in 3 years. I said that before. And I had fun hitting those targets, which is not something I usually say about raids. They're usually boring, and after 3 days, mind-numbing. This time, I actually had fun killing those targets. So, you know, I gotta give kudos where kudos are due, and this was good.
I found myself
10 days of tokens allowed me to change my build mid-raid, which was also great. So I hope they repeat the 10 days of tokens next raid.
Yeah, I've saved them. I've banked them at the moment because I'm not quite sure what was coming in the FM now. So now I've got a rough idea of what I want to do.
I use them all. Instant gratification.
Oh, cool. Okie dokie. And obviously, ladies last this time, but I like Robin to have the final word. So,
Well, just a big thank you for everybody's information that they did provide on the raid thread. We can always kind of get the pulse of how the raid is going by how many gazillions of posts there are that include naughty words on that feedback thread. And there was some concerns, but there was also a lot of good feedback. There's a lot of really good feedback videos that were shared by players. And I too also enjoyed this raid. I had very, very limited time, so I was super ecstatic that I was actually able to even complete it in the short amount of time that I had to do it. But I did see a lot of players out there using older fleets, grinding their own points, able to do stuff for themselves. I know there were some people that had some issues, and hopefully those will be taken care of before the next raid. So just thank you to the rest of the players helping the other players, because that's what makes our page work, and that's what it's there for.
yep. I'll just close off and say, for a first, I'm impressed. And they did say what they said they were going to do. They actually kept things as generically even. I think slight advantage to the bat ray owners in their bat ray target over the razor tails in the razor tail target, but only because you did need the hyper 30s in the razor tail target, which allowed you then to plow on through a little bit and get around some of those torps. And once I switched to steelhead crew myself, I must admit I found it much more fun and quite a little challenge to drive like a crazy fool all over the place and try and loop the loop and all that sort of stuff. So I was chuckling to myself, especially after I got the beers. But yeah, on the whole, not bad. So keep it up, please. Okay, that's it. Thanks all for tuning in. Thanks for the live guys on the sidebar chat there for all the comments and that sort of stuff. It's all generally quite positive. So enjoy the VXP weekend. We do have, like I said, 36 hours. The first 36 hours will have the level 100 targets in them. So go at them. If you've got things to rank, enjoy yourselves. And we'll speak to those that wish to on Saturday night on the open mic. Thanks very much. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.